Hello, everybody. Thanks for watching this Sunday morning, or actually now it's just afternoon. Just got back from Walmart, and there was 5 folks here from the Battle Creek area that were having a discussion up at Walmart. And it was in the automotive section waiting for car maintenance. And I quickly came to the understanding that these people did not have any understanding of the political system in Canada, and they were equating the Liberal Party there with the Democrats here, and they were equating the Conservatives there with the Republicans here. Now, we live right across the Detroit River here in Michigan from Canada. Canada's not only to our north, but it's to our east as well. Actually, from my house, in less than 2 hours, you can drive across the bridge right into Windsor just like that and be there. And these people understand absolutely nothing about the Canadian political system or the parties that are in Canada. The 2 major parties there are the Liberals and the Conservatives. Everybody's got to understand Canada is a socialist country. It basically has been forever. Just like England, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, those are all socialist countries. People in this country seem to not understand that. When you see a national health care system, well, there's a dead giveaway that this is a socialist country. And that takes on many more connotations than just the national health. You know, they have like free public housing and a bunch of other stuff that come into play when you're talking about a socialist country. But these guys were talking, and they didn't seem to understand that the Liberal Party in Canada is way far left loony than our Democrat loons here in the United States of America. They're way radically left. They're radically left. Okay? And for the party that in Canada that calls themselves the Conservatives, they're even way left of what we would call conservatives and conservative Republicans in the United States of America. And they have other parties too. They're all way left. You cannot equate the Liberal Party of Canada with the Democrat Party in the United States. Not even close. These are whacked out loons on steroids. And the Conservative Party, yeah, they're whacked out loons on steroids too, just not as much as the Liberals. Okay? That's one of the reasons why Canada is in such a problem as they are. They could be this way. They could be the socialist governments they were because they were living off our economy. And if we stop them living off our economy, their economy collapses because A, they don't have anybody else to trade with, and B, they're used to running on, $261 billion of our money every year. Now, I've had Canadian friends since I was a child, still have them. Love them to death. Okay? But if you listen to them speak, they're all better than us because they're socialist. They're better than us because they don't have guns. They took the guns away from the people primarily, most people. And they're better than us because they're not us. Okay? That's the mentality. Canadians are better than Americans because they're not Americans. And they got all this socialized free stuff because they lived off our economy. They poached our business for decades, since World War II. They've lived off us since World War II. And I think that the Americans need to understand what's been going on that aspect, as I've spoke about in a previous video. But also they need to understand that when they're talking about the Conservative Party there, on the United States of America standards, there's absolutely nothing conservative about the Canadian Conservative Party. They're Canadian Conservative Socialist Party. That's how it needs to be defined. And they have no expectation, the average Canadian, of doing anything other than what they've done since World War II when it comes to trade and their attitude and all these other things, okay, that they've gotten away with. Now, I'm not for NAFTA or CUSMA or however you want to say it. I'm not for any of that. It's time to end it. I'm hoping it's up for negotiation here. I think the negotiations are supposed to start in November, and the renewal package of this U.S.-Canadian NAFTA package is supposed to go into effect in 2026, my understanding. I'm hoping that all gets done away with. And except for like the oil and other things that we need from them, I'm hoping that Trump will put a 35% on everything else. I don't think that's realistically going to happen. But I do believe that NAFTA, as the Canadians have known it and the Mexicans have known it, is probably going to end. And we need, as a nation, the United States of America needs for that to happen. Will it put the Canadians in a bad way? Yeah, I expect them to go into recession, then depression probably, most likely. If there's one country whose spending is more out of control than the United States of America, it's Canada. And they could afford to do all this because they were getting all this excess money from us for the last 80 years or whatever. And we have to talk about this as a country, and President Trump must take action on this and not let this continue, not let the American taxpayer, and the Americans must finally get a grasp on our neighbors to the north and east. They must start to understand some of the politics of Canada and how the politics of Canada got to be the way the politics of Canada got to be, and how they got the attitude toward Americans that they got. And the attitude they have toward us is not good. Their attitude is terrible. They're better than you are. And they don't mind telling you that. So the next time you hear their politicians or the government-backed CBC or the loony left CTV, you might want to understand their attitude when you hear the reports. They're even worse than MSDNC and CNN and CBS News, NBC News, and ABC News. They're even worse than those guys. And guess what? They have no Fox News. They have no Newsmax, and they have no One American News. They have none of that. There's nothing balanced in Canada as far as the news goes. So they're all brainwashed. And that's why they got the attitude they got. And that attitude won't change because of this brainwashing until we stop the unfettered trade with them that we can no longer afford to finance. We're $37 trillion in debt. As I've said on previous videos, we pay more servicing the debt than we do our number one governmental agency, the Department of Defense / Department of War now. That's number two. The biggest, most expensive military in the world is number two because our debt that we have to finance through bonds is bigger than our military spending. Thanks for listening today, everybody. Goodbye.